Hi, I'm Antoine Samaha, and we are back to seeing the FOC framework. We were seeing the lookups, how we build lookups, and how we let us see the result. We fixed some of the small bugs that we had. So in the results that we have now, if I go to the menu, employee role, I can see my lookups here. Everything is directly editable in the table itself. I can add a lookup here if I want to.
Sorry, Antoine, but I can't see you. Okay.
Okay, you can see the screen now. Okay. Administrative assistant. And we can put here like, if I don't see the option here, I can type it. Admin. And I decide to have this. Look, this is the order field. I don't have to display the order field, okay? Usually I don't display it. But here it is displayed just for us to see that, how it's managed automatically. I do a drag and drop and I put it here. Okay, you see the order has been automatically adjusted. And if I save now and get back in, it stays in the same order. Okay, let's say that I don't want to see engineer in my list. I can set it as deprecated. If I cannot delete it because it's already used in many places, I can simply say deprecated and it will stop showing in my list. Okay, so it will stop showing in my drop downs. And let us see a little bit how this GUI is done, because we didn't go through that. If I go to my employee role table, this is the GUI itself. Employee role table, you see we have a vertical layout, GUI table inside. In the GUI table, we have the different columns. Well, we already know these. We have already went through these in the example of the employee table itself. So this is pretty straightforward. The name of the fields in the database are the same as the name that we specify here in the table column, and we specify the caption. What is particular here is that it is directly editable in the data, in the table. So how do we specify that? In this parameter, inline editable true. Okay, the open enabled true should be false here. You can't hear. Can you hear me? Hello. I think there's some internet issues here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cutting off a lot.
Okay.
Same problem.
Okay. Let me fix this. Maybe by going to another network. Is it better now? Can you hear me?
Much better, yeah.
Okay, great then. Great. Okay, so we were saying that this GUI table this time is directly editable. This can be specified in the attribute inline editable true. Okay, and in this case, I don't need to have an open enabled. I don't need it to be open enabled or whatever. So I disabled this open enable whatever, the flag. And now, because of this flag, I can see it. There's another thing I want you to see also, is the redirection. This is the powerful thing, because I'm here. If you know redirect object, I can specify another object. Look what this means. Imagine that you have an employee role saying administrative assistant, and then somebody else adds another role saying assistant. Okay. And at a certain point, somebody comes and said, why do we have two? We only have one. You look at the database and you see that you have like 4 people, like 120 people assigned to administrative assistant and 200 assigned to assistant. And they should be merged, actually. There shouldn't be 2. So you come here and you say redirect object. Let's say that you want to remove administrative assistant and you want to keep assistant. Say redirect object. You say that you want to redirect to the assistant. I didn't save yet this, so assistant wasn't really there yet. Okay, now that it's there, I can do redirect object to assistant. That's what I do, replace. And then all the items that were using administrative assistant will be using assistant, and you will be able to delete this item. Now you are able to delete it anyway because I didn't use this item yet anywhere. There is no foreign key on it yet. Okay, but let us do this example fully. You agree? Let us do this example fully. To be able to do it fully, we need to create an employee role field inside the employee. Okay, so let us do that. Let's do that. Keep opening the wrong Eclipse. Close all. How do we do that? We go to the employee entity. In the employee entity, I say that I want to add a field using my Fog plugin. I could have done this manually by typing in the file directly. Foreign key. Field name is employee role. I like to name it exactly as the table. I don't like abbreviations, it's useless. So when I type here employee role, automatically the plugin is guessing that the table name would be maybe employee role also. Okay, I can keep it and I can change. If it's not, I can change it here. But the default is that, yeah, it is the same. Now be careful to this field. Cached list. Yes, it's cache list because if I'm going to point, the employee role will be in the cache. Yeah, it's a lookup. It will be in the cache. I've been using it in the cache normally. So this flag should be on, and it's true to have it on. Is it cascade? We talked about cascade yesterday. We talked about cascade in previous videos. Cascade means that if you delete the employee role I'm hitting now, I'm in an employee hitting on an employee role. If it's cascade, it means that if I delete the employee role, I will delete the employee with it automatically. But I don't want that, so I will not take cascade. Detach is another way of managing. We didn't talk, I didn't mention that. I didn't want to complicate things yesterday. Detach is a way of managing the deletion. If I want to delete the employee role and it's used in the employee, maybe in this case, I want to simply put it to null. Wherever it's used, put it to null and let me delete it. This is a way of managing it. I use it rarely. You know where I use it? I use it when I have like a cycle reference. Object A is pointing to object B, and for convenience, I have added a foreign key in B towards A. Something like that, maybe not in the 1 level, maybe in a 3 level thing. I have also another foreign key. In this case, I use the flag detach to allow the deletion, because otherwise you end up in a vicious circle. So no item can delete any other item because they are all like used by other items. You can say detach. It can solve the problem. I'm not going to go in the rest of the fields, although they might be interesting. I created now. Sometimes you get it, the plugin doesn't automatically do the import, so okay. Import foreign key on the table employee role. The cached true is the default value, so it's not written. Fine. I have the field now, and I have a getter setter for it. Okay, and the getter setter for it, what does it bring? It brings a fuck object. I have two choices. Either I import this fuck object here, or I know that it's of type employee role. And this is what I highly recommend, to do this. Say that, so also the plugin doesn't write the types, the exact types. It writes fuck objects. So I recommend that to correct that. Okay. Now, once this is done, we need to put it in the GUI, right? So let me have it in my GUI employee form. Let's say I'm not going to put it in the table. I just want to see it in the form. Okay. Okay, I open the form. Here in the form, I have three fields, and my horizontal. Maybe I can add it here. I can have 4 fields. This horizontal field, I'm gonna have here this is the name of the field. Yeah, I'm gonna put employee role is the name of the field, and the caption is gonna be role with 180. I'm happy. Look what will happen now. This is the first time we add the foreign key field, and we're gonna watch this. It's gonna be ugly, I think, because I missed something on purpose. Oh, I didn't do the adapt data model, right? I didn't increment the module. I'm gonna do it here this time. Why I decided to do it here? Because still in the same development, I didn't deploy anything yet, so neither my dev colleagues, nor the production already incremented the version. I have incremented the version on my dev side, and no one else has seen this increment. So everybody will have his auto complete, auto populate. I mean, adapt data model. They will have it. So I don't really need to increment the module. It's like it's done. So let me go now to the employee list. You noticed I needed to refresh because the first select failed because the field was missing. So I needed to do a refresh. Go to the form. Oh, I have my role. Let me select the role. Whoops, it's ugly. It's showing me the references. No one will. I know that in old systems, people used to know by heart the references that they use. I know people who really said, yeah, you put 12 because you're going to use this cutting disk, and you use 13 when it's says to the United States. They used to know them by heart in their system. But obviously, I don't want to show the primary key here, the role primary key. I want to show the name, right? How do I show the name? This is the way. This is very vicious. You need to understand the difference between I can put this. I'm gonna do both. I can put a dot name, and I can put a flash name. And there is a big difference. If I say dot name, I can have a path as big as I want here. Let's say this is not an object, but let's say after the name there is category. And after the category there is a family of objects. And then I want the name of the family. I can do this, you know, and Fuck will understand that. It will go from the field employee role to the field category inside employee role, then to the subfield family inside the category, and then family has a field called name. And this would work. It would show you the name field, and it will allow you to edit the name field. Okay, so know that the dot works, so I can do this if I want, and I will, and it will be wrong. Okay, let us see why. It will be wrong because it will not show me the role. It will not allow me to edit the role by showing me the name. No, it will allow me to edit the name directly, and I don't want to edit the name inside the lookup. Not what I want. Not this. No, I want to go to the list. John, look, the text field. Why is it text field? I want to select the role. It's obviously a text field because I decided to go into the different objects and to reach the name field, which is a text. And I said to the system, apply the GUI field to this text. When you apply GUI field to a text, you get a text field. I don't want to apply it to the text. I want to apply it to employee role. But inside employee role, I want to show the name. This is the difference with this, the arrow. Okay. Now, the arrow means that, okay, we know that we're going to show employee role, so it's going to be a drop down. But so GUI field is applied to employee role, but I'm going to see inside the name, and I'm going to pick up a name, not a primary key. Okay, let me see. This is going to be any.
So if you didn't use the arrow,
This
will
is what
be
I want.
updating the role name.
Yes, this is very wrong,
Okay.
very dangerous.
I guess we will be adding a new.
No, you will be changing a role in an existing one if it's already there. If you already have the primary key, you'll be changing an existing one.
Okay.
So no, it's very wrong. I don't think I can't think of an application where you would want to go and change the field inside. Okay. Sometimes you want to do that. Sometimes you have like a small field embedded, an object embedded in another, and you are editing it directly. Yes, you want to change it, but not here, in this case. Okay, so what do you say if we do small listener? Okay, let's do a listener. Now that we have done our foreign key and all is well, we finished the foreign key thing. Let's do a listener. Imagine that in the table and some other places, I want to display the full name. Okay, I'm going to take a silly example. It could have been also the computation of the hours, number of hours between end and start. But let me take a silly example, the simplest one, the full name. I want to display here the full name in the table. And the full name is going to be used in other places, like, and I use this a lot, when you have a drop down that will show you the employee, what you typically want is to show the full name, not the first name or the last name. If you have a drop down to pick up an employee, you want to show John Smith. You want to show John Smith, you want to show Albert Smith. You don't want to show John, because you might have other Johns. So you need this field, full name field, although in the database, you don't need to have it in the database because you have first name and you have last name. You don't need to store the full name in the database. We agree on that. So what I will do is the following. I will say, okay, create a new field. What's this field about? It's a string. It's called full name. It's not mandatory. The size is 200. I don't care. I don't care. It's not gonna be stored in the database anyway. So the full name is here. I created it, but I obviously don't want to have it in the database. So there is a parameter that says db resident false. DB resident false. So this is a field. It doesn't need to be in the database. Full name.
I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
Why don't we simply create a GUI field in the form.txt file? And once we load the screen or we reload the application, also the form.java file, grab
Yeah.
the name
I
and
agree.
name and
I
will
agree.
populate this
I
GUI field
agree. I agree.
automatically in the file.
You can do that. It is an option. Yes, you are right. You can do that, and you can also do more complicated. This is very useful. What the idea you gave is very useful also when you have a column, and inside the column you want to put maybe a button. I want to put a button that will print the salary slip for this person. Okay, I want to put a button that gives me the achievements. I don't know what. So if you want to add icons and buttons in this table and whatever, yeah, you need to do what you are saying. And one of the ways of putting the full name is what you suggest. Putting a title here called full name and capture this in the table and fill it. We'll see that. I have something that shows how to do this on Stack Overflow. But now it is more adequate to do it using a field. Why? Because I want to have it in a drop down also. I don't just want to have it here in the table. It's not just a GUI thing in the table. In the object of, let's say I'm assigning tasks. If I want to assign a task to an employee, I want to have a drop down of the employee. I don't want to see John. I don't want to see Smith. I want to see John Smith. So I want to be able in the GUI XML, just as I did here for the employee, in the task XML, it's another XML. In the task XML, I want to be able to say employee full name and see the full name. I need this field. Okay? So since I need it, I'm going to build it. But anyway, your idea is applicable also. But let me see how to achieve it this way with the listener and everything. So I have created my DB resident false. So it will not be in the select. Spock will know that when it does a select to the database, it will not include the full name in the select. But you can use it later in the memory. Okay. But when do I fill the full name? I will fill the full name whenever the first name or the last name change. This way I'm sure to always have in the full name the full name. Okay? Done. How do I capture the change of the first name and last name? This is how I do it. I'm gonna put a listener. Now, to put a listener, you can simply write here a method, yeah, called property changed. I think it's like this. I'll verify the syntax now. First name, this is the field name. I'm listening to the first name. Let me verify. I always check. No, not the file search. Searching in my existing projects for this. Okay. I'm searching for the signature. Okay, so I'm going to copy the signature and take it to my project. Property changed, it was right, and it returns void, and inside it will give me the property. It will send me the property. Okay, so this was the only thing missing, the property. So this method will be called automatically whenever this field changes. Why? Because the method starts with property changed underscore and the field name. I also need one for the last name. Right? And whenever one of these is triggered, I need to do a compute full name. Compute or build or whatever. Okay, how do I compute the full name? I mean that in both cases, I need to call the compute full name, right? I'm going to say it like. So if the last name changes, compute full name. If the first name changes, compute full name. Okay. So how do I compute the full name? I'm going to get the first name, add it to the last name, these, set full name here. Yes? I'm going to put a space between. Okay, done. So now, if I go back to my employee table XML, yeah, remember we were messing around with this table. We created 2 times the first name. Now, I can have simply name, first name, caption, first name, link true, name, full name here. I don't need to have a data path. We talked about it yesterday. Let's say full name, link. So, okay, let's run it. I just want to try something in my server. No, I'm not gonna try now. Doing a tutorial session. Let's do it. Okay.
You need any specific configuration to enable the debug?
No. It's fine. You can put a breakpoint and run in debug mode. It's fine.
Because I'm facing problems whenever I'm trying.
Okay, we will check that.
Maybe we'll later.
We will check that. So here you see the full name is written. So it has been concatenated automatically. If Albert is becoming Alberto, Alberto. Okay. So look, we still have these labels down from this session. Okay, now so we did the listener also. Okay, so now we have a listener that allows us, whenever something is changed, it's triggered. Let us play around and put a breakpoint here. Okay, and debug.
And where did you add the listen?
It got added automatically. Let me explain the different ways of doing it, because it's true that I took the easiest way, the one that is straightforward. Now let me do it inside the employee form. Okay, there is an employee form. Yeah, there is a backend for the employee form. Employee form Java is coupled with the employee form with the chapeau. Yes. So I want to put the listener in the employee form to the employee status. Okay, do you agree? Whenever we change the status, I want to show the achievement table or hide it. Or no, I'm gonna show a warning on the screen when you say disabled. When you select disabled, we will ask you, we'll tell you be careful you are doing a disable to this employee. Okay, it's a good example actually. Why? I'm also listening to the employee status. I could have listened to it here. I can listen to it here. I can add also another method like this one and say property change status. Okay, but if I do this, it's in the wrong place. I don't want to listen to the status in memory in general. I just want to listen to the status when I'm in a form. And when I'm in the form, if someone in the GUI changes the status, I want to give a warning. This is the only case that I want to act. This is my listening situation means that I really need to have this in the form, not somewhere else. So I suggest that I override the after layout construction. This means that the components are already there. Okay, why not? I'm not going to listen to the component. I'm going to listen to the field, to the property, because it's easier. I could have listened to the component and started working on the component itself as a GUI, but I don't like to do that. I'd like to do the controls on the memory only. It's a choice. Okay, so yeah.
What about the init method? If we override the init method,
You can. It is, yeah.
okay,
you can.
What's the difference between
the init is called
where
the init is called before you draw the components. After layout construction is drawn out. And here I need the component. If I say get component by name, it will give me null because the components are not there yet. If you are using get component by name to put something in it, like if I want to get the vertical layout and fill it with something particular, this has to be done in the after layout construction. Okay, if I want to manipulate the data before it gets dropped in the XML, I do it here. Okay, sometimes, you know, sometimes I open a form and I don't send data to it. I send null data. And inside the form, I fetch the right data before the super init here. I fetch the right data. I say if foc data is null, I fetch my data and I pass the foc data here. I will get like foc data is equal to the employee role dot get foc desk employee role get foc desk and etc. Okay, this I can do this. Okay, there is a situation where you need this and that. It's the matter of where everyone is called, and everyone is called by the framework, called back. It can be here in the init. I don't mind. Let me put it in the init. Okay, and let's put it in the init, and after calling the super. After calling the super, this is what? This is an employee form, right? So what's the foc data in an employee form? It's an employee foc object. So if I use this, now here you are seeing a method that exists in my foc XML layout. I'm calling it get foc object. This will obviously return an employee. Okay? Usually, the way I do it, I put this in a method here. And I say get employee. Okay? And obviously, I should have used generic types. And I would have had the get foc object return the employee object directly if I had generic types here. Yeah, one, it's not there. We should introduce this someday. Anyway, employee, if I go for employee, now that I have the employee, what do I need to do? I want to put a listener on the property. I need to get the property. Get fuck property brings me the property. In very old versions of fuck, I used to use everywhere IDs, not names, for fields. Now I use names. So I say get fuck property by name. What property do I want? Property, the field names are constants inside the employee. And I want the status. Where is the state? Employee status. This is the field I want. So if I do this, this will bring me obviously a property. To tell you the truth, it will bring me a superclass or a subclass of property, which is a multiple choice property. Type multiple choice, which is a subclass of F property. But I don't really need to know what type it is. I'm going to keep it property. And I'm going to say to the property that I want to add a listener. And this is my usual listener that I see in usual Java code. The dispose is always there in many objects. I don't need it now. Property modified. So I'm called here in a property modified callback when the status is modified. Okay. So I'm going to say property dot what am I going to do when the property is modified? Oh, I'm just going to make a pop-up, right? I'm going to say globals. This is how you usually do a pop-up with a warning or something. Globals, it's a fuck class. We call it statically and show notification to the user. The main, you have a big title and a smaller title. Warning. You are changing the status. And what kind of
Antoine, don't we used to add if check if the property is manually edited or no?
Oh yes, yes, exactly. Where did you see that?
I was reviewing some form and
yes,
check the.
Agree. Let's give it as a warning. Now sometimes if I'm not sure if this property is going to be changed programmatically or not, sometimes you want the warning to show only if the user is clicking on this property and changing it manually directly itself. Imagine that the status changes because I have a button that says invalidate the employee. So when I say invalidate the employee becomes disabled. Okay, I have a button for that and I have the question there and everything. So whenever he clicks on this button, the property employee status will change. But I don't want to give a warning. I only want to give a warning when the property itself is modified. So then I do this check. The property is telling me that it was manually edited. And this is why it came to my listener. So if I say is manually edited, bring me the warning, I'm fine. It will not get triggered. Sometimes I don't want to trigger it. You know, I get called also for these listeners when I'm doing the select from the database. Not in this case. Here I'm inside the for. The listener is hooked only because I'm inside the for. So, but sometimes if it's a listener on a global level, it's a listener here. If here I don't want to change I can do this check, for example. I don't want to do this check, but I can. Is last modified by SQL. If it's last modified by SQL, I don't want to do the compute of the full name. Otherwise, I want to do the compute.
Why? But we should do this.
Yeah. I'm just showing the condition. In this case, I should do it. Sometimes, when I do this when the computation is saved in the database. Like imagine that I'm saving the full name in the database, and now I'm just doing the select of the employee. I don't want to compute the full name. The full name, I'm also getting it from the database. Okay, but it's not the case. So let me delete it, and but just know that there is also this condition sometimes. The fact that you can verify if this is coming from database or not. Okay, let me get back here. So if it's manually edited, give me this warning. And I also actually want to check if it was selecting disabled. Yes, you are disabling the employee. Okay, disabling or whatever. Are you sure? Right. Let me say this. In this case, I can also say get employee, get the status, get the employee status, and if the employee is not null and employee status is equal to employee what was it? Employee status. Let me see if there are constants for this or not. No, we didn't make constants for these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We should. Let me put them here. Not in the right package, I've been writing in the wrong package, in the wrong project. What about this employee form also was in the wrong project. So I'm gonna fill this employee form. I'm gonna copy this in employee form, this one. Sorry for that, path. Okay. The input are not there. Globals. Complete this. And now is the right input. Put disabled probation. I'm gonna put some public static final int status disabled table. And then I have disabled employee and probation. It's not the content. No, it's I need to have the 0, 1, and 2 integers. And it's true that disabled is disabled. 0, yeah. The status disabled. Status probation. And status employee. So now I can use some constant condition. So status instead of typing 2 directly. or 0, whatever. So I'm checking if it's manually edited, and I come here and I get the employee. I see if the employee status is disabled. In that case, I'm going to give a warning. I'm going to say, be careful, you're disabling this. Okay. Let me now do this here. Let's check if it's working properly. I want the list. Okay, if I say employee, nothing happens. If I say disabled, are you sure you are disabling the employee? Okay, so working. So we did two types of listeners. The type of listener that was more permanent in the employee. It's like a control on the entity itself, allowing me to build my full name. May the change come from a GUI or not from a GUI. I'm in a form or not in a form. I'm doing this listener here through these property change, and these actually have hooked a listener in the memory on the field itself. I don't want to enter in this nuance that allows us to understand the inner behavior of folk. I'm not going to talk about it's while parsing the entity actually and parsing the annotations. Okay, while doing this, what do we do also? We parse the methods and see if a method starts with property change underscore. If so, we create a listener not on the property, because the object we don't have it yet. The property we don't have it yet during the scan. We plant a listener on the field. Remember that we have here, not in this, maybe in this one. Remember that we have, okay, for each property we have a fuck field. So since I don't have the rows and the data of the rows yet, I have the fuck desk and the fields. I hook the listener on the field and it will be applied to all the property in that field. So this is what I did here. Okay, this is what is done automatically inside. So, well, now there is something that we didn't do here. The employee form. We hooked the listener, but be careful whenever you add a listener. I always, during this pose, I remove the listener. And this form, in this form, there is a dispose that will be called automatically when the form is, when you get out of the form. What I want to do is that here, before the super.dispose, the same way I added here the listener, I want to be able to remove it. I want to be able to do this. I need the listener. So here, I will create the listener separate. I will have it as a parameter. This is what I usually do to make sure the dispose is going smooth. So here I'm going to say listener is equal to okay, and I add the listener. Okay, then at the dispose, say listener. Print and null, always be safe, especially because the dispose for a reason might be called more than once. So I'm always safe here. Say here the listener will be null at the end. I finish with it. I want to remove this listener. I'm not safe enough. What if the employee is null? So if the employee is not null, I will continue. And here, if the property is different than null, I will remove the. Now in this case, I have really disposed my at the init. I created a listener. You know how the garbage collector works. Garbage collector removes the object from memory only if there is no reference on it. If there's someone referencing them, they will not be removed. So if you leave some kind of references due to listeners are the wicked part here, because if you add a listener, an object is referencing an object and then it's in the same time has a listener somewhere else and whatever, you will end up having all your mesh of objects referencing each other, and it is accessible somewhere through the main application, some main handler or something that you didn't dispose, and you will end up with memory leaks. It's very important whenever you write a new this word, and this is a rule in Java. When you write new, don't continue your code, don't continue your algorithm before you decide where the dispose will be. Because if you write a new, you need to say somewhere, I don't have this usually. Okay, depends how your code is built, and this new maybe is in a method and the parameter is really local, so it will not survive after beyond the scope of the method. It depends, but usually in big applications, enterprise applications, whenever I write a new, I start to think of the dispose. Okay, and this is how we disposed here our list, by removing it from the property and setting it to null as a variable. So this variable will become null to dispose. So the object property listener itself in memory will become unreferenced by no one at all, neither in the array of the property nor as a parameter. Okay, I think that enough for this session. Yes, I can hear you.
So if we build the after layout,
Yes.
will behave the same.
Yes.
Say we want to access some GUI components. We want to build the listener after the.
After
we want
layout,
to change some state of some component. So it's better to create the listener after the
layer construction.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a difference between before and after layout construction. First, let me say that you don't really need to create it in the after layout construction if you are reusing the get GUI component in the listener here. Because if you are using the get GUI component here, anyway, it's not called in the init. It will be called in the after layout construction. Frankly, I need to interrupt now. I really have an urgent matter. Okay. We will continue this discussion later. Okay, but yeah, you can put it in the after layer. Okay, thank you.